Well, good morning. I got thinking about when I started this channel, I did it with very little thought, no planning, no strategic design around it. I just wanted to share stories of my experience that helped me grow and evolve into living a life of joy and fulfillment and just being more happy and eliminating stress from my life. And I don't mean dealing with stress, I mean eliminating stress. And that's something that we can do. And so I just wanted to tell little stories of my journey and little steps that were experiences that I had along the way that evolved me. And one of my stories that I think is pretty profound, it was for me, I'll share it with you now. It's at a time I had divorced recently. My ex-wife and my 3 kids had moved out of state. They'd moved up to Utah, about 3 hours from here. And I was all by myself. And I was in a real self-destruct mode. I was in the process of chasing my dream of making a feature film, and it wasn't going well. And I was working. I had an auto detailing business, a mobile service. I was frustrated. I was living, day to day. And I just felt like I had very little hope in my life. And I remember this particular incident. It was in 1999. I remember that. In 1999, I was sitting at a stoplight near the Las Vegas Strip. And this homeless man came walking by me. And he was just tattered clothes, barely hanging on him. Filthy. His hands were black with grime and soot, and his hair looked plastic. It was so stuck to his head. It was so filthy. It was just, his beard was full of stuff, and it was horrible. It was just sad. My heart went out to this guy, and I was like, oh my gosh. And all of a sudden, I found myself in, I don't know if it was a vision or if it was just a dream or whatever, but I could see this guy being born, and all he wanted, and I watched him grow up and then progress to this state, and his life flashed before my eyes. And when I came out of this thing, I was in tears, and I'm like, what the heck was that? Right? I'm like, this is bizarre. But I was just so overwhelmed with love for this guy. And I don't know what happened. I drove home, and I remember going home and just sitting there thinking about everything that had happened to me. And I started evaluating my own life, and I was looking at myself and what a train wreck I was at this point in my life, and how self-destructive I was, doing all the wrong things. I had already had an experience with church over the years, going to church, and none of that seemed to fix anything. Going to church, that was just a routine thing, and it just never really was able to create an internal transformation for me. It was just more of a superficial thing, like I was trying to find something of meaning. But I remember after that seeing the homeless man thinking, look, man, I'm so screwed up right now. I can't focus on think about everything I'm doing wrong, because I felt like I was just screwing up everywhere. And so I thought, what's the first great commandment that I had learned? And that is to love God. What's the second great commandment? Love thy neighbor as thyself. And so I thought, okay, that's it. That's what I'm going to do. I was just so overwhelmed with love for this guy, this homeless man. I thought, that's where I'll start. Forget all the other commandments. I'm not going to think about everything I'm doing wrong. I'm not going to feel guilty about anything. Screw all that stuff. And I didn't know this at the time, but I later read, I can't remember, I think it was Saint Augustine. I think Saint Augustine said, love and do what you will. And what he meant by that was, if you have true love for others, are you going to steal from them? Nope. If you have true love for others, are you going to harm them in any way? No. If you have true love in your heart, all the other commandments fall into place. right? You don't have to worry about doing anything, right? You just love and let everything unfold. And I didn't realize that at the time I'd made this decision, right? That I'm going to make loving God and loving my neighbor as myself as my primary goal, right? So I remember going home after that moment, seeing that homeless guy, and I wrote down on 3x5 cards, I'm going to love everybody I meet today. Everybody that comes within 20 feet of me is going to feel my love for them. And that's what I wrote on that card. And I wrote 3 of those cards. I put one on my bathroom mirror, so it'd be the first thing I saw every morning. And then I put one in my pocket, and I put one on the front seat of my truck. So just as a reminder. And everywhere I went. And so then I thought, okay, now I'm going to radiate love and put out love to everybody I meet. How do I do that without being weird, right? How do I project that? I didn't want to start getting out of my comfort zone and smiling and saying hi and hello to everyone. I didn't want to do that. I mean, I could smile and nod and just give kind gestures, but I didn't want to get out of my comfort zone. So I thought, how do I give love away and let them feel it? And I came up with giving away imaginary hugs. Super easy, right? Nobody needs to know that I'm giving up and hugging, that I'm giving them a hug, right? I would just imagine it. And so I started this, as silly as that sounds. And I would do it in an intersection. If there was a car parked on either side of me, I'd imagine getting out of my car, them opening their door, getting out, we'd hug each other, and I'd get in my car and drive away. I did it in the grocery store. I did it wherever I went. I would just imagine hugging all the people around me. And the craziest things started to happen. It was amazing. And this is before I learned a lot of the things I've learned about energy. In Einstein's quote where he says, match the vibrational frequency, the reality that you want, and you can't help but get that reality. I didn't know that. I read that years later. But I was actually creating and putting out a frequency of love everywhere I went. And it started to change everything. And one of the reasons this was one of my first big steps in evolving spiritually, truly evolving spiritually, not intellectually, spiritually. I had read the Bible and I knew scriptures. That was an intellectual process. I wasn't getting a spiritual process out of it. It was an intellectual journey I was on about learning all about doctrine and stuff like that. This was an internalized spiritual experience that I was having. And it was the beginning of changing everything. And it changed the people. I started attracting people into my life that started to evolve me. Everything in my life changed for the better. And my lesson in this story is, the biggest takeaway I got from that is, first of all, loving people has just made me feel good. But the other thing I realized is I stopped thinking about myself. I stopped all my thoughts about my poor life and what's wrong with me and how come everything's not going well for me. And I took all my attention and I directed it toward other people. And by getting out of that, I changed the way I felt about myself, my whole emotional state, and everything. So I put my focus on loving other people and took it off me. And that was the beginning of this great journey I've been on. And that really started it all. And so that's the first step that I would share with you is go into gratitude, start putting out love energy, or start thinking about, what can I do for you today? How can I make your day better? How can I improve somebody else's life? And the minute we do that, it changes our energy, changes how we feel. And I wrote that little and shot that little short film. It's on my YouTube channel. It has my movies on it, at Trace Garner, youtube.com at Trace Garner. It's called Bright Side Up. It's just about a guy that loses his job and he learns by taking the focus off himself how he comes out of it, and he comes out of it feeling good. And so you're welcome to go watch it. It's free. Check it out. My feature's on there as well. Anyway, but that was the first thing that I learned from that experience, was by taking the focus off myself and trying to improve the lives of other people, it inherently improved my life in dramatic ways. So anyway, that's today's story. And I look forward to talking to you again soon.